hope these guys have a lot of this paper, because we are going to go through a lot of it. Three-letter acronym of the day, you should already know. What was that? Technical difficulties, all right. LAN you should know. Still not working. It sounds like it's kind of still on. Oh well. All right, LAN. What does LAN mean? Peanut gallery. You call this one a local area network. Right, it's still here static. It sounds like someone's trying to say something. All right, next one up. WAN stands for wide area network. Okay, so what's the difference between a local area network and a wide area network? One's local and one's wide. Here is the thing. It is not the size, okay? So it might be easy to think of like a local area network as little, LAN, and WAN is big. That is not what it is, okay? The way local area network is normally used means that all equipment is owned and operated by, and I'll just put us, that means our company. All right? So, for example, in my house, I have, there's a little switch in the basement. I've got some stuff going off of it, and then I have a wireless access point. All equipment equals R Haynes, that's me. So it's a LAN, okay? I put in all the cables, I did everything in there. The switch belongs to me, the wireless network belongs to me. Okay? So this is a LAN. Now, in here I have a cable modem. I'll just put an M. That's still in my house, but sorry, it didn't fit anymore. And then there's a coaxial cable that runs out and goes up to the TV, and it goes across. And I don't know what happens out here, so I just draw a little cloud. Because this is Cox, right? And then they go to the Intranet, right? So this is not me, but it's still something I can use. So this is not my stuff, but I still use. Okay? Y'all following me here? So that's not LAN, that's going to be WAN. Okay? So WAN is not mine, but I'm still going to use it. And in exchange for using it, what does Cox make me do? I got to pay him. So we'll put a $sign. I'm going to pay money to what's called a carrier. Okay? And the bottom line difference between a LAN and a WAN isn't the size, it's whether or not a carrier is involved. Okay? A WAN means I'm paying money to a carrier. And for the most part, we usually say a WAN link. Okay? We don't normally say a WAN. So I used to work at the racetrack, and we had all of our equipment at the racetrack. It was called SHRP. This was the LAN. All that equipment was ours, even though we were separated out. So we had a big old grandstand over here. There was a little building over here and another little building over here, and we had cable running between them. All of that, it was a pretty big area. You guys know a racetrack is a mile around. It's big. So even though there was big gaps between the buildings, this was still LAN. Okay? We did have some fiber that went all the way to some other town. I don't even remember where it was. It was called Valley Race Park. And we had that. Okay? The fiber we leased. So this is a WAN link. Okay? It's a WAN link. Over here, there are also buildings that were connected together. It wasn't as big as this one, but they're still connected. And this is a LAN 2. All right? If you talk to me, though, about my network, if you said the network or your network, I considered it the whole thing. Y'all following me here? So yes, I knew that there was LAN. I had LAN stuff. I had WAN links, other LAN stuff. The whole thing in general is my network. So that's why we normally will say a WAN link. Because in your mind, I just thought, I mean, I can connect over here. I don't know, in your brain, you're like, that's just there. It's there. So you just, yeah, it's okay. We also had other stuff. I'm not going to get into that. Off-track betting parlors and a bunch of other stuff. But no one ever said, like, our network is so big, we have a WAN. You really would just say a WAN link, okay? And if you think, too, about, like, ODU here, the campus is pretty much, you know, this is stuff that ODU owns. ODU can dig under the road and put cables in, and so they own all these cables. Where am I at? So this would be like ODU's campus here. So for ODU, even though this campus area is enormous, to the people that run this network, this is LAN. It's their own stuff, okay? Now, if we have to think about, for example, crossing Hampton Boulevard, if ODU can go to the city and say, hey, is it all right if we dig a trench under Hampton Boulevard? And the city's like, yeah, go ahead. Now we're still LAN, right? But if the city's like, no, you are not allowed to cross Hampton Boulevard with any sort of conduit, then we're going to have to call up Verizon and be like, hey, Verizon, you understand you have permission to go across Hampton Boulevard, and then Verizon's going to charge us, and now we have a WAN link, okay? So that's sort of LAN and WAN. Just remember that. It's not really size, it's who owns it, owns the stuff.
So would they be considered a WAN, or would they, if it was just Cox alone?
Cox is a carrier, and they have a whole different notion of their network. Okay. So all this stuff in here, that's just their network, and that's all their stuff. And so I never worked for a carrier. I only worked for one of these guys. So I don't know exactly how they think of it. So we think of a WAN link. Oh, there you go. So the bottom line, this is our fancy definition of the day. A network. This is going to be a collection of subnets connected by routers so that any application on any host on any subnet can communicate, and I'm not going to write the whole long definition, communicate, we'll just say any other connected application, okay? So this is just sort of a broad thing, but it kind of sticks everything together. Remember we talked about a subnet, right? This is switches, and we have the routers that glue the subnets together. And the whole goal is we want applications to talk to other applications. Let me just flip this over really quick and kind of show you. So in here, in this network, on our network, this part of the network, it was actually all switches. connecting everything together. It wasn't very big. We didn't have a lot of people. There was a router here, though. And then over here, it was another subnet. So this is all switches in here. And then there's a router here. The link itself is usually its own subnet. So I have a subnet, a subnet, and a subnet. Those are all connected together, and so I can send data anywhere along it. Okay? Cox is the same way. I have a subnet that's in my house. Cox has the subnet that's sort of my neighborhood, and then they glue them all together with the other neighborhoods to form their network, and then of course the internet is a bunch of other stuff. We'll talk about that right now. Okay, so there's the big definition again. So a network is a collection of subnets connected by routers so that any application on any host on any subnet can communicate with any other connected application. So that's any application on any other host on any other subnet, basically. So the Intranet is not really its own separate entity. The Intranet is a network of networks. Someone in class was actually kind of asking about, is there like a hierarchy of subnets? And there kind of is. So if we gather up subnet after subnet and make them into one person's, like Cox's network, and then we connect all of Cox's stuff with, say, Verizon's stuff, then that's how we get the Intranet. So it's the inter-network. You see that? So my company has a network, and we are connected to the inter-network. So ODU has a network, they're connected to the inter-network. So for example, here we are in Goranto. So we're in Goranto 205. There's like 20 computers in here. Is that mirrored? That's not mirrored either. All right, Goranto 205, so that's us. We might connect to, we have our access line. So just a simple little cable. We have a router. Then we're going to go to, what would this be? The ODU subnet. Oops, the ODU network. Then there's going to be another router. Then we might connect to the, what would this be? The Virginia Education Network. I forget what this is called. EduCase. And then who knows what happens after this. This might be Verizon. And then we have AT&T. And so on. I don't know where we're going to go with this. This is Yahoo. I don't know why I keep going to Yahoo. That's okay. And here's my server with my mail on it. Okay, so if I need to check my email. So we understand too. So ODU is connected here to the Virginia Education Network. There's other networks over here. They might be connected to other networks. Oops. We don't know who any of these people are. Anyway, other people connected into AT&T. We have to get across Europe. You know, who knows? There's lots of networks out there, okay? But the bottom line is I can use these routers to relay messages where I need them to go. Any application on any host can connect to any other application on any other host on this network. So that's fun. There's the Intranet. All right, a couple more terms. You may have heard of intranet. Intranet, I used to think of as like, this is so archaic because we started using it in the early 1990s, and I thought we would have stopped using it by now, but we still use it. So intranet, and I still have trouble saying it, but we'll be all right. Intranet is an internally used TCP IP based network. Okay? TCP/IP, this is the basic internet protocols. Okay? So an intranet is an internal network that uses TCP and IP protocols. Now, back when I was doing networking, you might have had a Netware and a Netware Network, which was Novell. Have you guys ever heard of them? This used a different set of protocols. Okay? And so what happened was when the Internet first came out, all of us were using these different protocols on our LANs. So within here, we were using Novell stuff. If we wanted to do cool stuff like having a web server, we should put internal. If I wanted to have internal websites, then we needed to use TCP/IP. It didn't work on Novell, and so we had to add TCP and IP. And so we put these servers in, and we called it our intranet. Nowadays, everything is TCP/IP. Okay? That's why I think people should stop using this term, but you do still hear it. It usually means they're talking about their internal websites. It's their intranet. Okay? To me, I think your internal network is just a separate network, and we'll worry about that later, though. Okay? Extranet. What an extranet is where we're going to allow outsiders to connect to our internal network. Okay? We better put here, this needs to be secure, because our internal servers or our internal network is going to have the important data in it. So let's say this is our order data, and we need to get our supplier needs access from their site to our site to access that data. Okay? In between here, we're going to have edges of our network. We call this a firewall, and you've probably heard of this. This firewall is to keep bad people out. And we're going to have one over here too. So this is at the edge of our supplier's network. We have a firewall. And at the edge of our network, we have a firewall. And what we do with the extranet is that allows the traffic through. Through the firewall. For obvious reasons, this needs to be very secure, right? We need to very carefully have usernames, passwords, who's accessing this and what. And we very carefully code it into our firewall to make sure that only these people have access. Put that there. Only certain. And speaking of specialists, the people that provide this kind of access, this is a specialty that's different than web server security. So there's a whole little ball game here too. So that's an extranet. If you ever heard it, like I said, intranet and extranet. You had a question.
So what's the, like, between a LAN and an intranet? Is like an intranet just over a LAN and it's using different protocols or something? Or?
Yeah, the difference between a LAN and an intranet, to me, they're the same, and that's why I don't like the term intranet. Because now, like I said, these days everything is TCP/IP. It used to be you had a separate kind of weird network. But now they're very much the same. There are a lot of companies, though, that still have a set of specific websites that internal people use, and they will say, this is on the intranet, and that will be the access to them. So again, he was asking if there's a difference between intranet and a LAN. But let's look at our bigger picture down here, where we had, this is a large network. I may have my internal web server over here, and then they're going to be able to access it over this link. They're all part of our network, so I don't have any of this. There's no security in here, because this is our link. We leased it, and the people we leased it from are very secure about it. And so this, even though it's over a WAN link, is also part of what you'd call the intra network. So to me, intranet is just network. So the whole thing is our internal network. And we have our security sort of outside this part. So. All right, that's fun. Where are we going now?